The Village of Bartlett for the Committee of the Whole meeting for June 4, 2019. I call this meeting to order and again ask the clerk to call the roll.
Trustee Camerer.
Present.
Carbonaro.
Present.
Daney. Cabrera.
Here.
Hopkins.
Here.
Ranky. Absent. President Wallace.
Here. The only item we have this evening on our committee meetings are under Public Works, Chairman Camerer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this evening we are bringing up the brush pickup program again and coming up with some different ideas, and I think it's probably best if I just turn that over to staff and let you bring us up to speed on things that we need to hear.
All right, thank you. As you know, our current program is through Groot, where they, on Tuesday, when they pick up the garbage, they also would pick up brush. However, it has to be bundled, which seems to be one of the complaints that we get. We looked at, based on the last meeting or a couple meetings ago, we looked at a couple different options. We had looked prior to the waste contract being renewed. We had talked to some contractors that do brush collection for other communities. We actually had them give us numbers to get us an idea of what it would cost. We haven't gotten updated numbers from them yet, and we weren't sure whether that was something you guys wanted to pursue or not. But we kind of used those numbers to give you an idea. Here's what something like that would look like and what it would cost. So between the two contractors that we have contacted, you can see CAMERER Tree Service and Trees R Us gets you an idea of what one pickup a month would be. It's in that $27 to $34 a year. And then if you were to go 2 pickups, we had one price, and that was in that $41 range. With that program, the way they do it, if it's once a month or twice a month, they go through the whole town. They would probably break the town up again, where you do like weeks 1 and 2, or I don't know how long it would take them to do it, but they would give a schedule like half the town. They would go through and say, this is your week for pickup. People would be able to put it out like they did before, unbundled, brought out to the curb. You still have to keep it away from mailboxes, hydrants, and all that stuff, because they actually use a machine that grabs the brush, picks it up, throws it in the back of the truck, and they haul it away. So they're not chipping it at the site. They're just loading it up, bringing it to their yard where they chip it and turn it into mulch and probably resell it and all that stuff. So that's the difference with that program. We looked at having, I think one of the discussions was having our crews do a 1-time or 2-time a year collection, where in spring and fall or something to that effect. I think Naperville does something similar, where they have a collection in the spring. It's a 1-time type deal. Obviously, we can do that. We have brush chippers and all that stuff. The biggest concern that I would have with it is if residents know it's only 1 pickup or 2 pickups. First of all, what do they do the rest of the time? Are they going to use the bundle program or not? And what type of brush will we have? So it would take, when we were doing brush, we'd do half of the town. We did 2 pickups per month. So we would pretty much spend a week, especially during the spring, a week it would take us to do half the town. And then we would go to the other town. So if it's a 1-time thing, what type of brush are we going to have? Is it going to be similar to that? Then we'd be done in 2 weeks. I have a feeling that it would be bigger piles, which makes it harder when you have bigger piles. That's one of the biggest complaints my guys have, is they're having to grab these brush piles, pull the branches from the pile, feed it into the chipper, and that's where your work comp stuff gets involved. So that would be my biggest concern, And then obviously it takes us off of the work we're getting done on bike paths, the concrete work, that asphalt work and that stuff. So it's a trade-off. I mean, can we do it? Yes. There's contractors that can do it too, so I just want to kind of get a feel and then get a feel from you on which.
I would be in favor of contractors. I think we're out of the brush business, and I think it would be possible, a great idea to do some kind of a subscription service, because it's a limited number of people in town that do their own. I don't know if there's a way that we can set up some kind of a subscription service where, hey, you know, we've got 200 houses in town that would actually subscribe to it, and they just deal directly with the contractor.
I mean, right now, we contacted a couple of our contractors that do some of our landscape maintenance. They have said that they would give the residents a price. So we've been giving, you know, residents that call up and say, I don't want a bundle, and we say, well, you can contact these. I don't know what they're charging. We'd have to follow, you know, and I'm sure it depends on how big the pile is. So that would be a way to do it. Are you talking about having like, we would hire one of these contractors and say a per house type thing? They would call up that house?
I would prefer us to stay out of it. if we
All
can.
together. And, well, we already give them names of contractors that we're aware of that do brush.
Do you know what they're charging
Give their
them?
number. I don't. I could follow up with, Siebert was not one of them, but Cornerstone was one, and C.E. Smith. Both said that they would do it. Kramer and Trees R Us would also do it. I think they would be more interested in doing a whole community, because you lose your efficiencies when you're just trying to go to a house here or there versus
Yeah.
going up and down a block, but.
Yeah.
So Dan, do we know approximately how many houses in our town have the do brush pickup?
That I don't have. I mean, from time to time, I would think a big portion have brush at some point. Now, whether they're having a contractor deal with it and take it away, we don't have any number as far as how many residents are hiring a contractor and not having to deal with it. I know we do get some calls about brush, or we're running into residents are getting creative and they're putting brush piles in open spaces where we don't have a property or a house that we can kind of send them a letter. So we've had to deal with some of that. But in those cases, we'll send a letter to that entire area, like a cul-de-sac. They'll put it out in the island. Well, who did it? We know someone in that cul-de-sac did it, but we don't know who. So we'll send a letter to that entire cul-de-sac saying, hey, this is illegal dumping. So some of those things are going on, but I don't have a good feel for how many are bundling and they're fine with it versus how many are, you know.
Well, let me ask you this. If the village was to pick this back up again, you talked about these companies that had the grappling system that picked it up. What's the cost of, say we did that, loaded up the brush into dump trucks or whatever, and apparently you take it someplace and dump it off, and they chip it. Is that something, is that a potential way to do it?
We don't have the equipment, so we would have to purchase
buy
that
a-
equipment.
whatever that
How many
costs.
you would need in order to do that? I still think it would be more cost-effective to just have a contractor at that point, but we could look into I don't know what the cost of one of those machines is and how many. I would guess you would probably need at least 2 of them to be able to get done in a timely manner.
Let me ask you, Dan, didn't we do something with the insurance when we stopped doing the brush pickup? Didn't we get a reduction in insurance costs, workman's comp, or something to that effect?
I'm not aware of a reduction in that when we got rid of, because we still do tree trimming, so we're still doing chipping and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I'm not aware, I'd have to look into that, but I'm not aware of a.
There's a
insurance
savings by
reduction for that.
default.
But I think it's more about the exposure and workman's
Right.
comp, and if we can reduce that risk, it will, in the long term, help your insurance.
And we have had a number of injuries, haven't we?
We have had injuries related to brush, yes.
So my opinion would be to continue providing names of contractors. And, you know, if that seems to work, I think that would be best. I think part of what we're experiencing right now is the growing pains of change, right? For so long, I was telling some of the board that I was guilty of it too. I just drag anything out there, and it was the greatest thing ever. Well, that's just not realistic when, you know, you get employees getting hurt, and it's not really part of what they should be doing, so.
We're going to continue on with Groot and continue to give names
Yeah,
to residents that don't want to bundle.
yeah. That would be my opinion. I don't know what everybody else thinks. But maybe we could be a little bit more proactive in finding out if we can lock these people down to a price. So instead of just saying, call these people, we could say, well, you know, if you got, you know, a lot, they'll probably charge you somewhere around here. If you don't, it'll be about this amount.
Yeah, we could have them, well, we'll talk to them, but I think we could probably get them, if it's a pile this big, this is about the ballpark what it would be if it's this, you know,
And that's got to
some
be a
ranges
lot
on there.
faster too. If they're just grabbing it and throwing it in there, they're gone. And it doesn't wake me up with that.
Well, I sure hope we do something quickly because we're coming into, well, we're in June already. And to be quite honest with you, I'm tired of hearing about it. I go places, and I'm just, you know, it's pick on Ray with the brush pickup. It's all my fault. No, we have 6 other people up here that voted for it, you know, and
I think that part of it too is this was a really extraordinary year for the snowfall breaking branches off.
Oh, no
So
doubt.
that really exacerbated the problem because I had tons of everybody had way more branches than they're used to having. So,
All right, that is all we have tonight.
anybody else have any other thing like that? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Camerer,
Yes.
Carbonaro,
Yes.
Daney,
Yes.
Cabrera,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
We are adjourned.